Hi, I'm Tony, and today I want to share about a pretty significant paradigm shift that happened to me. I don't even know how many years ago now, many years ago, but in my probably early 30s, that was significant. And so I want to talk a little bit about it. And when I was growing up, I was definitely, I'm a three on the Enneagram, which means I really like competition. I like to be the best at whatever I'm doing. And I like to do it the right way. So if there is a right way to do anything, I'm going to try to figure out what that right way is. And I'm going to make sure I try to do that. It's a terrible disease to be this way. But this is the way I was growing up in my immature states. Hopefully, I've matured past a lot of that now. And being a Christ follower in a traditional setting in a church, my church was really beautiful in the way they wanted to disciple us and train us and help us become kind of other centered instead of egocentric, right? Instead of focused on ourselves and really mission oriented. And so we had a lot of training on what it was like to have a missional mindset instead of a consumer mindset. And I appreciate that teaching. I really do. So I don't want to go against all that teaching at all or dismiss it. It was very helpful for me in my teen years. But I also want to share, and I also want to share that that wasn't enough, and that there was a huge piece missing for me, and that piece really was the ability to listen to God and hear His voice. Even, but our church was trying. I mean, I think it was our culture, the whole Christian culture in the U.S. at the time. Um, we did the Blackaby study, right? We all wanted to hear God's voice. We were trying to learn to hear God's voice, and Blackaby was very helpful. It got us a little step closer. But even with Blackaby, it was here's a million ways to try to sense God's presence, but really you're still the investigator and you're still having to guess and you're still having to do a lot of work and analysis to try to figure out if you're really hearing God or not. It wasn't like you could just hear his voice, like he would just speak to you and you could just hear it. It was through so many different ways that you have to like be a detective and kind of put the pieces together. And I did it all because I was desperate to hear from God. But it was a little later than that that other movements started, more prayer healing movements, and the Emmanuel approach movement as well came on the scene and actually helped people start learning to hear God's voice and pay attention and listen in community and have some guidelines so that we know we're not going, listening to, just the broccoli that we ate last night or things that are heretical, but some guidelines around that. But that we really could hear God's voice in community together. And He really is a God who wants to communicate with us and guide us. And that was amazing. And in that same time frame, I also was the other big paradigm shift was that um, Jesus came to seek and save all that was lost. Whereas I had been taught that Jesus came to seek and save the lost. So our mission, we were taught, was to go share the gospel with people who are lost, people who don't know God or don't believe in Jesus. And that was purely my mission, was to go share the good news of Christ with people who didn't know Jesus. And but what that meant was we diminished our own needs, and we a lot of us suppressed our own needs, and we threw ourselves into this work of trying to see people come to Jesus. And actually, we're using that activity to give ourselves self-worth, right, and to build ourselves up when really we had some work to do on our own. But that work wasn't valued, really. I needed to have it all together and offer help to others. That was what was valued at the time. And I was taught later in life that, Jesus didn't came to seek and save the lost souls necessarily. He came to seek and save all that was lost in all the relationships that were lost. And really looking at four different areas of relationship that we lost at the fall. And one of those relationships is myself with God. So, an individual with God, yes, that relationship was lost. And yes, God is on mission to seek and save that. So, I want to validate that one. But there's so many other ones. There's also me with another person or with several other people. God came to seek and save that which was lost between us humans because Adam and Eve, that relationship was broken after the fall. They were ashamed, right, to be with each other. And so that relationship in and of itself was lost. Their relationship with God, their relationship with each other. But also, what was lost was their relationship to the garden, to the world around them, was incredibly lost and damaged compared to what it was. So, my relationship with myself, my relationship with God, my relationship with another, my relationship to the world around me, the four relationships that were lost. And when Jesus said he came to seek and save that which was lost, I really believe he came to seek and save the relationships, all four in all four of those areas. And if we're really going to be following him on mission instead of following what we think is his mission, then we're going to go wherever he leads us in whatever given moment that might be. So one day of the week, or 1 hour, he might be saying, Tony, we need to do some work inside of you today. You're really sad and you're grieving some things. Let me comfort you. Come close to me and let me hold you and let me comfort. Let me just be with you. Right. And that's him seeking and saving the things that have been lost inside of me. Maybe he's challenging me. Maybe he's revealing lies that I'm believing, and he's drawing out truth and speaking truth over me. So that is just as valuable as me sharing the gospel with someone who doesn't know Christ and seeing that relationship between them and God redeemed. Because Jesus is on mission to seek and save all of that was lost, not just getting a soul into his kingdom. That's not the only thing Jesus was about. He was actually about rescuing all of these relationships so that he could dwell with us here on earth and his spirit and in us with each other in very vibrant, life giving, mature ways. So following him on mission sometimes looks selfish, I'm going to say, especially when he brought my whole family off the mission field and stuck us in a really tiny house and pretty much told us you're not going to be entertaining and you're not going to be reaching out to anyone at all because you need a lot right now. Your family, your children need a lot right now. And it's going to be a season of you receiving and learning to receive from me. And that was hard because it went against everything I had heard or learned as a church goer, right? It made me feel selfish. It made me feel like I'm being self-centered or therapeutic, as some people would say. But yet we were following Christ, and we were following Christ into his redemptive plan for my children and his redemptive plan for my husband and I, and it saved our marriage and it saved our family. So, following Jesus on his mission sometimes doesn't look missional in the eyes of other people. If they think looking missional, you have to be sharing with your neighbors, you have to be reaching out all the time, you have to be hospitable all the time. So, I just want to blow that paradigm out of the water. And I want to say we're going to follow Christ so radically that even if he tells me to focus on just my family, my church inside my house, and my husband and me and our relationship, I'm going to obey him, and I'm going to let him seek and save all that was lost between my husband and I, between me and myself, between me and God, and between our children and us. And I'm going to follow him until such a time where he says, okay, it's time now for you to abundantly out of your vibrancy overflow into those around you. So sometimes it's a both and, sometimes it's one and then the other. And that's the beauty, is only Jesus knows where you need to be right now and what mission he has you on right now, what he's doing in your life and in those around you. So I just want to give permission to all of you out there who feel obligated to be missional, feel obligated to constantly have people in your house, to constantly be reaching out to your neighbors. And I want to say, wow, what if we decided to not do anything at all unless we see Jesus doing it? Not do anything at all unless we hear Jesus say, yes, take this to your neighbor now. Yes, reach out to your neighbor now. What if we waited until God filled us to overflowing? And then we literally could minister to others out of our abundance and out of our vibrancy and out of our joy. Because I really think that's the way he planned for it to work. And I think we've been guilted and obligated to service way before we've actually learned to receive from our Savior ourselves. So again, I'm not against service. I've been doing it all my life, but I'm for going into service because you're Jesus led there and not because you think it's what you're supposed to be doing. He leads in so many different ways. And I'd like us to learn to follow him and listen to him and follow him into seeking and saving all that was lost in all those different areas and validating every one of them as equal instead of some as better or more missional than others. Merging soul care with mission. I think that's what Jesus Christ was all about. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope this helps you live a little more joy filled and Jesus led.